A little under 3 years ago, I released a video titled Twilight Princess's longest speedrun got 10 hours shorter. At the time, I definitely did not expect that exact feat would be repeated 3 years later. However, on August 24th, 2025, I set a new record in Twilight Princess's low percent speedrun, the speedrun that beats the game with as few items, portals, and collectibles as possible, of 4:36:04, beating the previous record by 9 hours and 23 minutes. So, what happened? Since that video was released, just 2 new tricks have been found for low percent, though neither of them skipped anything new. Both tricks involve the same technique, so to talk about the time save, I'll start by going over that technique. It was found just over 5 years ago by glitch hunter Pokemon Genius, and has perhaps one of my favorite glitch names in Twilight Princess, known simply as Moon Boots. To perform Moon Boots, we need to equip Link with the Iron Boots or the depleted magic armor, giving him some extra weight. Then we need to gain height, and finally remove that item as soon as he leaves the ground. Removing the weight gives Link a little bit more height, allowing us to jump higher than we otherwise would have been able to. Most instances of Moon Boots in speedruns utilize the technique with Jump Strike, as this can be used anywhere and is easy to combine with a Bomb Boost if needed. For example, the 100% speedrun uses a Moon Boots Bomb Boost to skip a large chunk of the second Sacred Grove visit by getting onto a ledge that is otherwise inaccessible. However, Jump Strike is the 6th hidden skill in the game, and there isn't any known way to get it early, so it's too out of the way for any category other than 100% to utilize. Fortunately, though Jump Strike is the most useful, it's possible to use Moon Boots with any method of gaining height, and other runs perform the trick using Backslice, a jump attack, or, now more importantly for low percent, Ending Blow. Ending Blow is the first hidden skill in Twilight Princess, and it is required to beat the game. Funnily enough, though, the only time it's required in the game is for the final hit on Ganondorf, or literally the final input in a run. A runner could forget to get the hidden skill and not notice until the end of the game, and I'm part of a pretty exclusive club of runners that have done just that. Anyway, the first new trick in low percent was found about a year ago. If we lure a Twilight Bulblin over to this wall, we can use a Moon Boots Ending Blow to get over the wall and out of the portal arena, skipping the portal fight. The old method of this required taking Epona out of bounds to a different Castletown entrance, which looked really cool, but was tricky and had a chance of crashing the game. This new method is faster and easier, but admittedly doesn't look quite as cool. Admittedly, the other portal skips in low percent aren't particularly flashy either. We do the early Master Sword super jump one extra time to skip the North Faron portal, and simply claw shot our way out of the Death Mountain arena. On August 21st, 2025, following a few weeks of theorizing by the community, a new trick was found in Arbiter's Grounds. It was originally deemed TAS only, but that hasn't stopped Twilight Princess runners in Arbiter's Grounds before, so there was a human viable setup the next day. If we claw shot these bubbles precisely, we can get them behind the Pogate. Then, by doing a step clip into this block on the floor, we can get ourselves stuck in the corner, and then we can do a setup to get Link unstuck and into a precise position and angle. From here, we can walk along this really thin seam, get in the corner, and after boomeranging the bubbles and waiting for them to be in the correct position, perform a Moon Boots Ending Blow to get behind the Pogate. This skips the 4 pose in the first half of the dungeon. Low percent previously skipped these pose, but it required 9 hours and 40 minutes of staring at a rupee, moving slowly backward due to a missing frame in the animation. This new trick doesn't require anything low percent doesn't already have at this point, so it ends up saving a little over 9.5 hours, bringing low percent from just under 14 hours to around 4.5. With this, for the second time in 5 years, 10 hours have been cut from the run. Some have referred to this Pogate skip as a holy grail for TP, being something that many in the community have hoped for years. However, being honest, these new developments really feel to me like the end of an era for the low percent speedrun. After all, the Epona out of bounds and the rupee slide through the Pogate were things I looked forward to when running low percent, and they helped make the run feel unique and interesting. The new skip is useful in most full game glitched categories, so in some ways, low percent now just feels like any percent. It does still stare at a rupee for 73 minutes, and it has a few portal skips, but none of them are particularly flashy. Low percent is no longer the run I loved back when it was 25 hours, but that doesn't mean it's a bad run. It has been trending toward a less unique, more any percent feeling run for a while after all. Interestingly, every change to the route since rupee slides were added in 2018 have been for speed. We haven't found a way to skip any more items, only ways to skip the same items faster, which really emphasizes that this is a speedrun. Well, that isn't entirely accurate. There are ways to skip more items, just nothing that can currently be done by humans. There is a way to skip the small key in City in the Sky, for example, but it requires several frame-perfect and angle-precise inputs. Maybe someday a human viable setup will be found for it, but attempts to find one have been fruitless so far. In addition, there's another TAS-only technique. If we frame-perfectly alternate A and B inputs after telling Midna that we want to warp, we can delay pulling up the map, which makes it possible to warp the cannon without getting the ability to warp from the map screen, as it allows us to bypass the trigger where Midna tells us an invisible shad is watching us. If someone could manage to do that in a run, it would make it possible to skip 2 more portals and a Midna ability. The sheer frequency of the mashing makes me think that that's unlikely to ever be viable, though. Well, there is a way that is human viable, but it'd only be useful if we're doing all dungeons, as it requires completing Temple of Time. And that'd mean low percent all dungeons could be really interesting, likely ending up doing something similar to the old low percent route. Maybe I'll have to look into that some more. Though low percent has lost much of its charm for me, there are other categories that still have that charm. Low transforms, which I've made a few videos for, still uses the Rupee slide through the Poe gate due to it requiring a transform. And it also has another slide that was removed from low percent, as well as several other unique tricks. There are also quite a few smaller categories that are neat in their own ways, whether it be the moonjump categories or something like Pirate RTA. I can honestly say that I probably would never run any of these categories if not for low percent, and I'm glad that Twilight Princess has so much to offer. Twilight Princess Low Percent was once known as the category that stares at rupees for 17 hours. Today it only needs to stare at one for an hour and 13 minutes. From 25 hours to 14 hours, and now from 14 hours to 4.5. Low Percent's story has been an interesting one, and I hope it still has some surprises for us to find. I'm Anarakis, and thank you for watching.